Hello everyone, and today I'm showing you how to lower your RCZ, or in my case just replace the worn out coilovers that are already on the car. So we're doing the back end first. This is traditionally the easiest one to do, as you're going to see in the video. We've got it jacked up off the ground and ready to go. We're obviously going to get the car safe first and then remove the wheels. They are almost always a 17mm bolt, but be aware there could be 19mm bolt on there, depending on what sort of bolts you're running. And this process is going to show you how to do it from start to finish, and tell you the tools you need. So it's a fairly simple process. Now, just to mention, if you want to do it yourself, or you're sure you're able to do it yourself, then obviously look no further and contact Limitless Automotive, or contact me today. Comment below, and I'll be able to help you out in getting something like this done on your car. So it's fairly important, and I recommend to just put a jack under the rear beam on one side, because with the standard springs, when you do drop this beam down here, it can spring down quite aggressively, so just be prepared for that. And I know a lot of you are going to be hating because I haven't got any axle stands under here. I physically can't actually get any, mine are too big to get under here. But these jacks have got quite a large lift on them, so when they do drop down, if they did drop down, it's still going to have the car pretty high off the ground, even with the jacks down. But yeah, so as you can see, we're going to remove these 16mm either side, and both of my shocks actually on the back are both leaking, so we're going to do these first and then we're going to get the top of the shock off. So the spanner on this side, and then the socket or the gull on this side. Bolt end is a 13 and the nut end is a 16. It should go something like this, hopefully. Ready? There you go. And then you can either leave the nut on the end here and gently hammer it through, or you can use a ratchet just to rotate it and it will slowly pull itself out. So as you can see, the bottom of the shock's now out. You can see this is very wet, same on both sides, and someone's very kindly cut a little flap out here. We did the coilovers before to get to these two to remove the shock from the top. What we do with this wheel arch is you would remove the arch liner, or cut it if you want, to get to the top of the bolts here, and these are both 16s. On the other side, this isn't covered, so you can get to it without having to do anything, but on this side, which is the fuel filler side, it does have a lower sitting arch liner. So these can be a bit of a pain to get onto because of the angle they sit in there at, so make sure when you get on them, you get it nice and straight, so when you do gut them off, you don't shred the thread or damage the head of the nut, or damage the head of the bolt. These have actually been really nicely greased up by the previous person that installed the coilover, so they did do a very nice job, I will say. And this one is a little bit more of a fiddle. Just want to get onto it and then straighten yourself up right in the wheel arch here. There we are. One leaky shock out. Shocks, as you can see, are very leaky. Now, when I compress the shock, ready? Look, it's very slowly coming up, so it is toast. If you're reusing the top mount, it's a 17mm nut. Now, the majority of the time, it should come off, but we'll find out in a minute. So the top one's come off, but the bottom one hasn't, so we'll get this top one out of the way and we'll retry. Now, if this doesn't come off, then you'll have to do it another way. Let's go take my hand off, I think, when I do that. Let's come down on here for a minute.
you go. So if you have a clamp or something like that, it makes it a lot easier, but you can do it with your legs. So these have come off. And this is the top mount for the rear. These realistically are reusable a lot of the time. You just want to check the diaphragm inside and make sure there's no cracks or bits in it, and look at it from the top as well. But this is only a recently changed part, it's only a couple of years old, so I am reusing these because these are quite expensive actually for what they are. But I have got new front top mounts, so yeah, we'll get these on, the new shocks, and get them fitted. So as you can see, the passenger side is much easier. No need to cut any arch liner for this one. And again, one very leaky shock. It's going to be a little bit of a fiddle to get back in, but once they're positioned up in place, always do them in by hand first. So you don't want to cross-thread these, because if you do, these box straight into the body of the car and it can be an absolute nightmare to resolve them. So make sure they're going in nicely before you tighten them up. The springs from a friend can be helpful. What you're going to do is push down on here on the beam. Mine's very firm because it's got a poly bush. As you can see, let's pull the spring away, and basically you'll push this down, pull the spring out, and we're going to put the spring cup back in the top here, the new one. So we're going to take this out, get the rubber at the bottom, build the spring, put it back in. Get down. The spring just falls out. Now the spring's just dropped out the other side as well. And this is the top cup, which sits up inside here. Obviously, if you're just changing springs, you've got the original cup. And in the bottom here, there is a spring spacer the spring sits on. That's just like a cup that stays in there. So that's already in there, that's going to stay. This is what controls the height. This was the old one. And the new one I'm putting in, I'm literally just going to sit it on the spacer for maximum drop. There we are. So probably about 10mm lower it will now sit with the springs in. And what this does basically is just squeezes into place. Now I'm going to have to do this quite skillfully by myself here because of how small these springs are, they're just going to fall out unless they're under tension. So it's going to be a bit difficult for me by myself to do it, as the bar obviously connects both sides. So I'm going to now try and get the spring in on this side, probably jack it up a bit, and then try and squeeze the other one in without both of them falling out. As you can see, I've used a jack on this side to shrink the gap between where the spring's going to go in. So the spring's sitting here nicely now, and I've probably put it up too high. I've definitely put it up too high. I'm going to just drop it a little bit on the jack, not a lot. You can see how much of a fiddle this can be by itself, especially when you're putting lowering springs on. Normal springs are alright, but lowering springs are a nightmare. So, space is in. I'm trying to find the right point between tension and not enough. So I'm just forcing this down a little bit. There we are. So that's that spring in. And as you can see, when I tighten this up in a minute, it'll hold in there firm. I've just got to get the other side in now. So both sides are now in, under very slight tension. I'm just going to now pump the jack up on this one side so we can get the first shock in. So I'm applying the force here to make sure the shock's aligned, and this, as you can also see, is applying pressure to the spring, which is exactly what we need. So I've got the bolt. I actually prefer putting the bolt through this way because the handbrake cable just gets in the way. It's really annoying. So find the hole here. It's hard because I can't really see what I'm doing. And we're just going to jack this up until they meet. There we are. Like so. Now this as long as the threads aren't colliding, could have a little tap from behind, which I'll do now. Just going to go grab the hammer. There we are, so just a few gentle taps. As you can see, it's also nowhere near the handbrake cable either, so that's why I'm going to rotate them around this way, like that. All I've got to do now is repeat on the other side, and it's all in. Here we are, it's all complete. I'm just painting the calipers black for good measure, and while the wheels are off, going to give them a clean as well. So yeah, what a nice transformation.
Using a 5mm Allen key, take the bolt off which is holding the brake line on. If you're lucky, you can use a 16 or 17mm gun to take the drop link off. However, that may not work, so you may need to use a spanner behind the back of the drop link if it's got a slot, or a T25 normally, or a size 6 Allen key like I'm doing here, to hold the thread of the drop link and then wind the nut off. On a side note, as you're going to be replacing this part, or very likely to be replacing it, if all fails, you can just cut it off and replace. And also remember, if you're taking the old shock assembly off and not using it, leave it left on at the top and just undo it at the bottom. So you've only got to undo one. So this is showing you where I've placed the cable ties. Now, not a lot of people use this technique, but I always have, and that is to run a cable tie around from the bulkhead of the car. And when you take the shock off now, which is what I'm doing, they're 18mm by the way. You also may need a spanner to hold the capsulated nuts, because sometimes they can break free in the bracket you can see there. And when they do break free, they don't hold. And what I was saying was, with the cable ties, is you're going to see in just a minute anyway, you will then stick the cable tie, when you pull the hub out, through the top or bottom hole, and this stops the dry shaft, or the weight of the brakes pulling the dry shaft out. So you'll see that in just a moment. So here we are, the infamous cable tie trick. You can thank me later for this one. So we're going to pull that hub out. You can see it reveals the top hole. Stick that cable tie through, and then you can secure that in place. The weight of the discs, especially on the 340mm variants, are very heavy, and they can very easily fall forwards, or it normally falls over to the left-hand side, to the front of the car, and it will pull the dry shaft out. So this just saves you having to change your gearbox fluid at the same time. So the top nut is traditionally 21 or 22mm. There may be some other sizes to that, but you can basically gun it off if original, because they're never over tightened, and then the shock will literally just drop out, and you move it between the gap where the cable ties are, and you are out. There we are. No dry shaft coming.
Ignore all the crap behind. We're in the process of clearing out the garage. But how do you build the shock unit? So the shock unit comes as this unit here with this cog on, the spring, and the top mount is obviously separate. This top ring here comes with the kit, and it's like so. So the unit, what I've done is I've put grease on here, wound it all the way down, and wound it back up before I put any spring on. So there's grease in the threads, which is really helpful. So now I've done that, I have dropped this down to about halfway, so I can get the spring on and the top mount over the top. This metal spacer sits upside down, so the larger end is up on the spacer here, and the smaller end sits on the spring. And this is what holds the spring still and allows the top mount to rotate. So when you make it, drop this down, slide the spring on, put the metal cover on top, put the top mount in, tighten it up, done. Now what I'm doing is winding the shock back up to where it was before, or winding the spring up to where it was, the spring perch. Now they come with a spanner in the kit, which you can put on these lobes, and you can then spin the coil round. Now I'm going to be going this way, which is anti-clockwise, and that is going to make the spring shorter and make the car lower. So I'm currently going to wind this up until this measures on here at about 10 centimeters. The coilovers that are currently on there are 9.5 centimeters, so I just want a little bit more drop, and that's what I'm going to get by sticking this up to 10. So let's get this wound up.